Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought we'd do a little walk around the East End of London with me now that we're a little bit more free, so hope you enjoy. So the first thing that I saw was the wooden boat with 7 people, which was created in 2011. It was a wooden boat with 7 people in it, and it's an authentic boat which was used to transport refugees from Turkey to the Greek islands, and it was created by Calliope Lemos. And I know that while in itself this isn't a historical piece, I thought it was important to put this in for 3 main reasons. The first one was because it's a striking piece of artwork in itself and it looks nice. The second is because the aim of the piece is to make you think about refugees and their experience, which of course is an important and necessary task in light of the animosity that these groups face. And thirdly, because the East End of London in areas such as Spitalfields and Whitechapel are particularly well known historically for being an area where many refugees and immigrants have passed through and settled. So 3 well-documented waves of immigration to the area are the Huguenots, who were fleeing persecution from the Catholics in France. The second were Jewish people, and the third being Bangladeshi immigrants. And also when you exit Liverpool Street station, beside like the McDonald's exit, you can also see a further reference to Jewish immigration to the area with a Kinder Transport statue located just beside the McDonald's, and it's called the Arrival Memorial. And then we come to Catherine Wheel Alley. This is a tiny alley that was named after the Catherine Wheel pub, which was right beside the alleyway. It was 300 years old when it burned down in 1895, and it is said that many illegal activities happened both in the alleyway as well as the actual pub itself. The alleyway was renamed the Cat and Wheel Alley for a time, as the Catherine Wheel was actually a torture device. It's now probably best known for being a firework. The Catherine Wheel, not like the alley, you know what I mean. And then I came across the police public call post, which is different from a telephone box, which I learned. I thought it looked quite cute, to be honest, so I thought to put it in. At their peak in 1953, there were over 600 police call posts, which were like little, boxes rather than something you could walk into. There were police telephone boxes scattered all over London, but following their decommissioning in the 1960s, there are now only a handful left. And then we get to Bethlehem Hospital. In 1247, the Priory of St Mary of Bethlehem was created. The Priory became known as Bethlehem Hospital. Londoners later abbreviated this to Bethlehem and often pronounced it as Bedlam, like the phrase absolute bedlam, something that's like crazy and really busy, something like that. That's where that came from. It was the first specialist hospital for people with mental health problems. It was centred around a courtyard with a chapel in the middle. It had approximately 12 cells for patients, a kitchen, staff accommodation and an exercise yard. And it remained on this site for over 400 years until 1676 when it moved to Moorfields. Then we walked along to Sandys Row Synagogue, and this is the oldest Ashkenazi synagogue in London, and it's the last remaining synagogue in Spitalfields. The main synagogue building is almost 250 years old and is a Grade 2 listed building. In 1763, a French Huguenot community purchased an old chapel and its freehold on this site for £400 on a corner of Henry VIII's artillery ground. Then this is an elephant we saw. There's loads of art sculpture things around there, so that's an elephant. And then we came across the Charnel House, which is a place where wealthy people would pay for their bones to be stored. It's believed that this area was used to store thousands of bones of those who died in the Great Famine in the 13th century. And the entire space would have once been packed with bones, particularly skull and leg bones, which we now think of as like the skull and crossbones. I thought that was an interesting thing I read. It's believed that these parts were stored here as they were the essential parts to be preserved so that the dead would be able to walk and talk when they were resurrected on Judgment Day. The priory was dissolved in 1539 by King Henry VIII, along with all other priories. And then we went to Dennis Server's house at 18 Folgate Street. This is a Huguenot silk weaver's house, which has been renovated to display what life would have been like for the silk workers and what their dwellings would have looked like. It is said that each room was created to be experienced as if it were a piece of artwork rather than a guided tour. Then we came along to Spitalfields Market. There has been a market on the site since 1638 when King Charles I gave a licence for flesh, fowl and roots to be sold on Spitalfields. During the Commonwealth, the rights to the market had lapsed, and in 1682 King Charles II, upon being restored to the crown, refounded the market in order to feed the swelling population. And I just like this wall, I just thought it was nice, so here you are. And then we went to Box Park, which is not historical, but again, very nice. We tried the Black Bear burgers because during the first lockdown, me and Johnny were watching £1 Million Menu, and they were on it and just made us excited to see them in real life, so we got those. They were very nice. We then walked over to Wilt Street. It was believed that the Huguenots built these properties when they made their money through silk work. It would comprise of 3 floors, 1 loft and a basement. And they also had very fancy door knockers. I like the little man and the hand. The hand actually has some symbolic meaning. I'll put a link down below if you want to read more about that. And then we came across Anna Maria Gaithwaite's house. She moved to the area and set herself up as a silk designer, which is unusual, firstly because she was in her 40s and also she was unmarried. There are very few female designers. Anna Maria produced as many as 80 designs a year to commissions from master weavers and mercers. Her pieces have also been displayed in the V&A Museum. Then we have a coal hatch where coal would have been dropped down into the cellars. And then more pretty artwork. I just like colourful things, let's be honest. Also wanted to highlight this particular bit, just because Jacob Rees-Mogg is an absolute bad lad. And then we got to Brick Lane, which is an area just absolutely packed with history, probably better known now for being quite an edgy place. Then we have the Brick Lane Mosque. This particular site has housed a number of religious groups. It was first established in 1743 as a Protestant chapel called the New Church. It was created by the London Huguenot community that we referred to earlier on. Then in 1891, the building was adopted by yet another group as it became the Spitalfields Great Synagogue. The synagogue eventually moved to the new premises in Golders Green. In 1976, it reopened as a mosque. Then we went down Fournier Street, and the houses around here are really pretty. I read that the houses mainly date from the 1720s and that they are one of the best preserved collections of early Georgian domestic townhouses in Britain. Then we got to Christchurch, Spitalfields. It's a big, massive church. I couldn't get the whole thing in the shot because I should have turned my phone the other way. But anyway, this church was designed by Nicholas Hawksmoor and it was built between 1714 to 1729. It was also used in the film From Hell with Johnny Depp. So a little fun fact for you there. And then we moved down to the Providence Row Night Refuge in Crispin Street. The first Providence Row Night Refuge opened on the 7th of October 1860. It was set up by a Catholic priest called Father Daniel Gilbert. Father Gilbert enlisted the help of the Sisters of Mercy from Wexford, Ireland, where my family's from. By 1862, it had provided 14,785 meals to the homeless and destitute people in London. Obviously, as they were Catholic, men and women were split up and had separate entrances. In 1975, there was an application made to the National Federation of Housing Societies to create Providence Row Families Housing Association, and this was approved. Today, Providence Row Housing Association continues to work in East London in Tower Hamlets, Hackney and the City. There's also some really interesting pictures of the refuge and the inhabitants of it on the Spitalfields Life website. I'll put the link in the description if you want to look more at these. Then we got to the Gherkin again. And then we came down to Gunthorpe Street. It's a little cobbled alley just off the side beside the White Hart pub, I think it's called. One particularly notable thing that happened on this road was the murder of Martha Tabrum in 1888. Martha was a sex worker who was 39 at the time of her death. On the 6th of August 1888, she went out drinking with her friend Mary Ann Connolly, also known as Pearly Paul. Martha was found murdered on Gunthorpe Street, formerly known as George Yard, after suffering from 39 stab wounds. It's thought that she may be a possible victim of Jack the Ripper, and considering the time of her death, her profession, the area in which she was killed, and the manner of her death, it's believed her death is related as a logical association, gangster activity or organised crime. Then I saw this, couldn't decide if it was a good pun or poor taste, I'll let you decide that. Then we came across the Hoop and Grapes. This pub was established in 1593 under Queen Elizabeth I. The Great Fire of London in 1666 stopped just 50 yards from the entrance of the Hoop and Grapes, and it's one of the few timber-framed buildings to survive from the 1660s. Its name was originally the Hops and Grapes to show that it sold both beer and wine. And then I was off home, back to North London, gave a little wave to Valley Pally as we went by. And that's all. I hope you enjoyed my little walk around, and let me know if you want to do anything like this again. Just thought I'd try something new. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Bye.